Hey everybody, Joel, ImportSauce.com, and today we are in the T5 Engine Rebuild. We are going to be talking about the complete and final parts list that we came up with. Stick around, we're going to walk you through the spreadsheet and show you everything that we have compiled up back there to complete this engine rebuild. This T5 engine rebuild is brought to you in part by IPDUSA.com. IPD is Import Sauce's go-to for anything we need maintenance or repair on any of our Volvos. One reason we like them, the My Garage feature, where you can add all your Volvos and then quickly shop for particular parts for that vehicle. When you click on anything, it will give you an alert letting you know that this does fit. If there are fitment issues, you will get an alert when adding to cart, and this will let you know what exactly to check out before. This will ensure that you are getting exactly the right part for your Volvo. Second thing we love, kit builders. Here, for popular items, you can get the option to build a kit by adding on additional components that may be related. In many cases, you'll have options for genuine Volvo, or for a more budget-friendly shopping cart, you can add aftermarket. So, when you're going through, you can either select or not select certain components and make sure that you're getting exactly what you need. Lastly, customer service. Their customer service is great. They are US based here on the West Coast. Anytime we call the phone number, a real live Volvo owner and daily driver answers the phone and works with you on any product questions or help with your shopping cart. If you're getting your parts anywhere else, go ahead and check out IPDUSA.com. So just with the M66 swap or any other big project, the parts list is one of the foundations of the actual build or the swap or anything big that you're trying to do. So before a wrench even touched the vehicle, this parts list was in creation and being developed and cross-referenced against, other forums and write-ups and things that kind of had a little bit of information about this or about that. As we know, there's no complete T5 rebuild write-up that's out there. So compiling all this for not only ourselves, but everybody else who is going to use it. So with this, I'll kind of walk you through what we have here. We have, first of all, a few different tabs across the bottom. And again, if you're watching this video on YouTube and not watching it on the ImportSauce.com, on ImportSauce.com, this is available. You just click, you download it, you save it, and then you can use this as your foundation and start changing and updating and, marking off stuff complete, whatever you want to do. So the main list here, we have a bearings tab, which is going to be a separate video. The bearings are, while they are parts, they are going to be their own bag of worms that we'll get into and devote a specific video and portion of the write-up just to that. And then performance options we'll see over here as well. So just starting off, we have the first column, which is going to be our main category. And with this, we have hyperlinked the different sections of the build, right? So you can take this, for example, the block assembly, and it will open up and give you a diagram, and it gives you the parts list for reference there as well. So aside from the individual parts that are there, you can kind of see all the things that are within this assembly. And as we go down, we try to categorize it into just different sections, right? So we have the block assembly, what's going to be external or bolts onto it. Block special, this is where we have our bearings, let's see the bearings tab. Oil pan and related, the cylinder head external, so anything that's going to bolt on or be outside of that, the cylinder head internal, all the different things there. External accessories for the rebuild. Most of this isn't needed, but since we have it out, we are trying to document everything that would be, in our case, is replaced. We are just doing everything 100% brand new, 0 miles on the engine for everything. We get into fluids. And then we get into some other things. Hey, while you're taking the transmission off, here's some different things you may want to check into. Other performance upgrades, kind of some randoms that didn't fit into that. And then just kind of some notes or some other things that you may want as well, right? So we go through that. Again, we've tried to compile almost everything. Some of these things are bundles or kits, and in that you will see, head gasket kit. Okay, well that contains 10 parts. And rather than list each part out, and because it's cheaper just to buy the whole kit, so in some situations, obviously you're not going to buy, let me buy the head gasket and let me buy the cylinder O-rings separately. It's just easier to do that in a kit in many of these situations. In some situations, I would note that it does contain multiple things, and then you can go to the parts web store and check it out, right? So column B is our part number. All of these columns, part numbers here are hyperlinked, and these will all take you to the various, in most cases, it's going to be the Volvo Parts web store. This is where you can see the part number. You can see the actual diagram from Volvo. You can confirm, okay, that is the part number. And then you can see the price, which is going to be definitely more than some of the options that we've laid out here. So you go through here, and of course we do have some different notes here. If you're looking at some of these, you will see part number or oil cooler, right? You have variations depending on the serial number. We have both of those variations there. So even when there's variations, and especially when we look at the bearing kit, there are just dozens of options and variations based on engine serial numbers and things of that nature. So we try to document all that, right? So these are your part numbers and your quick reference. Next column we have is, let's kind of say two options, right? So we have the genuine Volvo, which essentially when you click on this option, it is going to take you to the, as we saw, like for example, the main stud kit, or let's say for example, plastic timing covers, right? You're going to go here and it's going to take you here, and then we would just grab the current price, right? And that is going to be the genuine Volvo price that we see here. So we just strictly copied it over. But at the same time, we went further and we would cross-reference this part number and we would find the best deal on it. And you'll see in many of these situations that the Volvo Parts web store is not the best deal that we found. In some situations, yes, because it's either discontinued or not sold. It may just be a little, a little $4 part, and for example, IPD is not going to sell that because it's super uncommon that people are even doing this, and it's not worth them to stock, a couple dollars on a part. But on anything big, the best deal you can see in a lot of situations as we go down, let's just kind of look down here at our external accessories, right? So on all of these, you are seeing that there is a huge difference for you to be able to save some money on this build by purchasing it either aftermarket or genuine Volvo in many cases, and it's just sold through like IPD or someone else, right? There's a lot of markup on the Volvo Parts web store. So going through and looking at that, but we have both just so you can kind of see what you're looking at there. And again, all of these, if you want, we have the best deal link. There's no point in linking genuine Volvo because that's already the part number link there. So you can look at the genuine Volvo. You can also look at IPD, which again, it may just be like, for example, this one is a genuine Volvo, but IPD just has it for $1 cheaper, right? And then as we were going, since we were building a ton of stuff out, and this is a performance build, we threw in this performance column as well for a lot of these options. I mean, there's not a ton on there, but there are certain options where you are going to want, for example, we did the forged pistons and rods, right? So you can go through and you can see, oh look, the K1 I-beams are exactly the same price that you would get a genuine Volvo, but it's a forged piece. And so in a situation like that, it's like, why not? Looking over here, the Wisco forged pistons. Right, genuine Volvo was 160, and then depending on your bore or your compression or what you're doing there, it's almost the same price to just get the forged piece. So going through, there's a few other items here, like head bolts, for example. These are performance ones. You can use, obviously, the factory ones, but we went with the Elevate spec ARP kit that we did there. And listed that as an option. What else do we have? Some of the cylinder head internals. So Viva Performance has some options there that you can do in terms of these other options. Those are the things that we are replacing, right? We already did the M66 and the single mass Y flywheel, but we added that as well, right? So hey, you got everything off. If you're doing a clutch, if you're doing a flywheel, here's the options to go ahead and do a upgrade on that as well. Some of the other performance things, oil feeds, obviously, the sleeves, which we did do on this build, and that will lead us over to some other things. So this performance options tab is not going to be kind of these main rebuild things that you're doing anyways. These will be other accessories that you can get because the engine is out of the car and you've already removed these parts, right? So you pulled off your whole air system, which would be your intercooler and your turbo and your torque mounts and oil coolers, ignition coils, things. All of these things already came off. And if you have a little bit more money and you want to do a more of a solid stage one or almost like a stage, not a stage 0, but like a stage 1, kind of get a couple things in it. This performance options tab has all kind of the things grouped together that you can put also into your shopping cart should you want to step it up just a little bit as well. So that kind of takes you through the whole list, right? Again, this is available for download. Go ahead and take this and use it as your own, modify it, but it pretty much outlines for the most part everything that you would need. Obviously, there's a few things that aren't on here that we're not replacing, like, motor mount brackets. They're solid metal. We're not going to list that. But we do have bushings and stuff that go into those also included on there. So as you're going through and disassembling or taking your engine apart, you're looking and you're notating, hey, you know what, this is something maybe I want to add to the list, or this is something that, maybe more suitable for my build. For example, all of our coolant hoses and radiator hoses, those are all brand new. We just swapped those out like a month before we pulled the engine. I didn't put those on there because they're not necessarily part of the engine rebuild, but if you're pulling your engine out and your hoses are still original, you got 150,000 miles on them, you may open up your own section down here, which is going to be for coolant hoses, and maybe you're going to get the DO88, or maybe you're just going to get the factory or whatever. So as mentioned in the write-up, if 10 people were doing this rebuild at the very same time, their list and their shopping carts are going to look very different, but we've tried to include kind of the main bulk of what you would need, at least for the engine, as well as a lot of different upgrade options as well. So next we'll just walk you over to our parts. We ordered all this. It's sitting here behind me, so I'm going to turn off the screen share. We'll flip you over and kind of walk you through everything that we got here, sitting brand new, ready to go in.
This T5 engine rebuild is brought to you in part by ElevateCars.com. If you own a Volvo, you've probably heard the name Elevate, but if you've never been to the website, you should definitely check it out. ElevateCars.com has plenty of performance and styling parts for your Volvo. Simply visit the website, find your particular model, and from there, you can dial into subcategories. One particular part that we're really excited to add from their catalog on this rebuild is the open deck sleeves. But even if you're just getting started, you can definitely find something within your budget to get your Volvo stepped up to the next level. Go ahead and check them out, ElevateCars.com.
So I figured I'd start out here. We'd already seen these in another video, but these are all the hard brackets that have been painted. They're a little dusty because they're sitting out here in the pollen right now. They'll get all cleaned up, but paint was still curing, and these have a pretty strong smell on them, so I moved them out of the office here. So let's go ahead and take a look as promised. There's a few parts here. There's a 69 Volvo 142, working on that. Interior's out for another issue.
the coolant lines blew up on the ECM underneath the glove box. That's a whole nother video on what we did and the problems, but here's the parts, right? Let's go through. So starting off, we have fresh, all brand new wire looming that's going to go in. All brand new black hose clamps. Get rid of all that silver, right? All brand new pulleys installed on here on our freshly painted bracket. Let's take a look and just kind of work through it. Some gaskets, drain plug. We had a video on this, quick release oil drain plug. Love this thing. Extra gaskets. Everything is cleaned, right? PVC, PCV houses, all of our liquid gasket. The starter was ugly and we couldn't clean it up, so we just bought a new one. Let's take a look at what we have here, which is a complete head gasket kit, right? So we got everything in here ready to go. Let's put that aside. What else do we have? Brand new oil cooler with our hoses. We didn't buy the Volvo hoses. We bought the Gates hose. We did a hack on that, $7 versus $50 for those. Clutch. Found this alignment tool. This actually is a Ford spec, but it is the correct one. So we have that linked up there on the chart. All new gaskets already installed here. MCU. Got some dress-up hardware. I don't know if we're going to use it or not, but when it comes time, we may play with that since we're in the engine bay. The alternator was one thing. We were going to take it apart and try to clean or paint, and it was a little beyond our skill level at this point. So we still have that on our list to get a junkyard one and mess around with that, but it's not going to quite make it into this build. Brand new harmonic balancer dampener, oscillation dampener. You'll remember we had chipped off some of the edge on ours, so we didn't want that potentially grabbing a belt and ripping it. Brand new coolant overflow reservoir tank. All brand new Elevate poly hoses for the air intake system, intercooler, turbo, all that. We had originally done blue, and this is a great opportunity just to get some new ones and swap over to the black since we're going black. We saw this in a previous video as well. The whole PCV housing and all of the bolts that go with it. So this guy is brand new. One thing to note is in the previous video, we didn't know if there was or was not a filter in here. We have an extra filter because we bought one, and this genuine Volvo already came with a filter loaded up in it, ready to go. We have all of our basic oil for now. When we put that in, we're gonna let it flush, and we're gonna do a swap probably within the first few 100 miles and just, you know, keep an eye on the oil and get all brand new in there. Turbo all cleaned up. We did recently do a video on the Elevate soft line for oil, and just today arrived the soft lines for the coolant. We're gonna have a separate video for you on that, but everything else on the turbo is cleaned up. Everything is tested and everything is good. These were already on there, but they're relatively new. So the compressor bypass valve and the actuator. Brand new oil pump with all of the seals and gaskets and O-rings that go with that. This is pretty new. This is the main coolant hose, but we do have a glow shift installed, so we have that the tap in there for the gauge. Moving along, brand new thermostat housing, and as we mentioned as well, it already came with a thermostat in there, so we have, again, just more parts, extra parts piling up there that we're not using. What's in this box? I don't know. Oh, yeah, the important stuff, right? So we have brand new water pump with gaskets, new belts, new pulleys and tensioners on there, all brand new hardware, and of course our timing belt sticker so we know when it's been done. That's an important guy. Elevate lower inlet manifold, which has been painted to match in that crinkle or wrinkle black. This is out. It was cleaned up. This is just our single mass flywheel and pressure plate combo that we have. Axles were good. Lower turbo pipe. This crosses from the turbo to the intercooler. Love this because this is one of the only pipes that Elevate sells that actually has a color option. So we love the black. Elevate upper inlet manifold. We put this on. We bought this guy a while ago and figured, yeah, let's put it on here. I don't know if it's going to stay when the engine actually goes on. Upgraded, oversized Porsche spec throttle body there. We have our two new accessory belts, right? What else do we got over here? We have all brand new Volvo antifreeze coolant. We have two more jugs upstairs. They're actually being used for door stoppers in the garage. The Elevate coil ignition packs. These are pretty new, a couple hundred miles, if that. One by one, cleaned them all up, got them ready to go on. We have our Redline MT90, which is ready to go in the tranny. We have all of our assembly lube already ready. Here's some of the good stuff. ARP, got these from Elevate. All the the good hardware that is going to complement what we're doing here. Here's some more. This is a fun pile, right? We have our K1, our forged I-beam rods. These things are solid. What else do we got here? Got some Nordic oak. This doesn't have anything to do with anything. We got a set of Nordic oak in case anybody's interested in that. First layer of paint on the oil pan, right? So all of the brackets and everything we saw was in that textured wrinkle, but the actual block, what we're going to do is going to be in gloss, and then some yellow accents throughout there as well. The rest of this, big brake kits and all kinds of other stuff, other projects that were going on at the moment have nothing to do with this, but this is kind of our staging area for everything right now. So that's kind of what we have. What you're not seeing is the air intake that's still up top, getting ready for paint, because as mentioned, from Elevate, those don't come with color options, but we're going to gloss black those, so they're getting ready for paint, as well as the intake turbo pipe that we see sitting there. Timing valve cover is still up there. We have a separate video going up on that, and we are doing a really cool custom crazy paint job on that. What else? You don't see the head, you don't see the block, you don't see the crank. Those are all still at machine shop. Tomorrow is going to mark almost 8 weeks of dropping those components off, and that's kind of what we're waiting for. I mean, we still have more work and cleaning and painting to do. We're almost ready to move to the engine bay, but once those come back, then we're going to have to do the same thing that we did there, get a nice gloss black on those, and just check out the sleeves that went in the Elevate LA sleeves collaboration, the open deck cylinder sleeves that we got. They have the pistons with them because obviously they need those to kind of measure as they're doing the sleeving on that. One thing we'll show you too, we had done a video on this, but here is every bolt that came off of the car, right? So this thing is a good, I don't know, 30 pounds, 40, I don't know how much stuff weighs, but let me see if I can open it with one hand here. There we go. So every single thing in this big bag has been bagged and tagged. Power steering line to block.
and each one of these bolts has been cleaned one by one, and they look beautiful. So essentially everything that's going back on doesn't have any grease. It's all cleaned out. The threads are nice and good. So that's kind of a overview of what we have. I mean, those are all the parts, all the stuff that we bought, everything that was referenced on the parts list, minus obviously the big stuff that is still at the machine shop, and everything new. We're still doing videos on that, so that you're still going to see some kind of side projects that go on that aren't necessarily part of the build, but the engine's out.